Hi, this is Dr. Stephanie Wautier, and I'm the host of Conversations with a Chiropractor. Think of it like Tuesdays with Maury, a fireside chat, or chicken soup for the soul. Grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy this conversation with a chiropractor. Hey there, and welcome to the podcast Conversations with a Chiropractor. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Wautier. Today is a solo episode, and my producer, Dave, has encouraged me to do solo episodes more often, even though I have resisted. My topic today is going to be on the nervous system and chiropractic. And here's what kind of inspired me to talk to you all about this. A few weeks ago, I was checking out at the grocery store, and the cashier asked me what I did for a living. And I said, I'm a chiropractor. And the bagger, who was within earshot, said, oh, I heard that's really good for stress relief, even though it's not like a scientifically proven profession. And I was sort of flabbergasted, not offended, just surprised. And I said, oh my gosh, there's tons of research about how effective chiropractic is. And I mean, we've been around for more than 100 years. I feel like we, more than ever, have been integrated into the wellness community. And I think that Western medicine providers have seen the value of chiropractic. So it was just really surprising to me. And I also was surprised because social media, I feel like, has a buzzword lately: the nervous system. Many people who are in this sort of like pop health psychology world are like, well, what's good for your nervous system? And this is good for your nervous system. And I thought, I don't know that the general public even understands what the nervous system is or what it does. So today is your day. I'm going to talk a little bit about basic facts. So our nervous system is divided into two main parts: the central nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, which is the network of nerves that's exiting from our spinal cord. Chiropractic is so valuable because what we do is we are assessing structural changes at the spinal level, and we are affecting both the central and the peripheral nervous system by removing nervous system interference at this level. Some people might not believe this scientifically, but we have, numerous hundreds of studies that we have done to prove the efficacy of chiropractic care. When people talk about the nervous system on social media, they're really talking about one part of the peripheral nervous system, which is the autonomic nervous system. So remember, peripheral is everything from the spinal cord and on, everything that's supplying our end organs, our fingers, our hands, our toes. And that peripheral nervous system is split up into two different parts. This is very basic: somatic and autonomic. So the somatic part of our peripheral nervous system is dealing with our voluntary movements. Like if I'm going to reach a glass that's high on a shelf, my brain says to my hand and the rest of me, reach higher, see if you can reach that. And my autonomic nervous system would be the reaction that I had if that glass fell and broke. If I felt flushed in the face, if I jumped backwards because I knew that that glass was shattering, that autonomic nervous system is the part of my peripheral nervous system that is reacting when I'm not even thinking about it. It's involuntary. Like I put my hand near something hot on the stove and my body recoils. That is part of this autonomic nervous system. And this is when we talk about rest, digest, fight, or flight. So when we're talking on these social media platforms about the nervous system, we're talking about the autonomic nervous system. We're not talking about the central nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal cord. Now, if you look up anything neurologically related, we're going to see a lot of information about the brain specifically. And I want to give you a little bit of an analogy about how you can think about how your body is working. So our brain, if we're thinking electrically, is like the central power plant. It is generating the signals that are controlling the functions in our body and sending those signals down through the spinal cord, through the peripheral nervous system, and out to the rest of us. Very, very, very specifically, if we want to think of like our electrical system being on autopilot, we can think of that autonomic nervous system, which is further broken down into that sympathetic, which is fight or flight, and the parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. So when people on social media are talking about getting your nervous system healthy or your nervous system reset, what they're really talking about, even in more detail, is getting that sympathetic and parasympathetic parts of the nervous system in balance. We do not want our body to be in a constant fight or flight. And unfortunately, with the intensity of our world, with things that are happening, unfortunately in our neighborhoods, we are being exposed visually to traumatic events. If we are truly being chased by a bear, we want every part of our nervous system to be firing. We want our adrenal glands to produce cortisol. We want there to be more glycogen available to our muscles to run faster. So we definitively need this sympathetic and parasympathetic balance. But the problem with today's society is that with our foot on the gas pedal constantly, our body is in this sort of chemically altered or societally altered sympathetic fight or flight response. I had a patient ask me, she said, "So, how do I make my nervous system healthy?" Now, I know deep down that what she meant was her autonomic nervous system because she is already a very faithful chiropractic patient who gets adjusted regularly. We clear the nervous system interference every time she comes in. In fact, I want to talk a little bit about this too. There's kind of a buzzword about neurologic chiropractors. Now, to me, that's sort of like saying healthy food grocery stores. Like every grocery store sells healthy food. Maybe they don't have it on the billboard, but you're going to get a lovely organic apple at Super One and the co-op. So every single chiropractor is addressing and assessing and clearing nervous system interference when they adjust the spine. Now, we do it in so many different ways. There are over 100 different chiropractic techniques. Most people who go to what we call the Palmer College of Chiropractic in Davenport, Iowa, which is my alma mater. That is where the entire profession began. Most of us learn 6 different techniques within the program. And then there are many different elective classes that you can, for example, I took applied kinesiology, activator, and then I have had different continuing education and certification specifically for pregnant women, which is called Webster technique. So there are a myriad of different techniques in chiropractic, but we're all getting the same job done, which is to clear nervous system interference. So I, as a low force chiropractor, am not doing more or less than someone who is doing Gonstead or someone who is doing something that you would think of as called tonal chiropractic. We are all affecting the nervous system. So if someone says, "How can I make my nervous system healthier?" the very first thing that I say is get adjusted. Knowing that there are so many different techniques in chiropractic, I would strongly encourage you to think about what you do and don't love about body work and what you do and don't love about perhaps the person that is doing the adjustments. We've all had a hairdresser that we love and a hairdresser that maybe didn't seem to get us. It's kind of like the same thing. You are in a very close proximity with this person. You have to trust them wholeheartedly. You have to know that they are going to be doing what is best for you. So once you have chosen your chiropractor and you are getting adjusted, what are some other things you can do for your nervous system? They are very generally and basically things that you can do to keep your body healthy in every other way. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, not drinking too much caffeine, which can really ramp up that fight or flight system with the caffeine. Someone might say, "Hey, I am living my healthiest, my best life. I'm getting adjusted. I'm eating really healthy. I'm not having too much sugar, too much caffeine, too much alcohol, etc." What else can I do to support my autonomic nervous system? Well, here's what I would say. We had an amazing guest on several months ago, David Moore, who talks a lot about breathing and breath work. Breathing is one of the most powerful things that we can do to make sure that we are resetting our nervous system and pulling it out of fight or flight. It can be something so simple, like inhaling through our nose for 4 seconds and then exhaling slowly through our mouth for 6 seconds. You can do box breathing. You can look online at YouTube for parasympathetic breathing techniques because we want that rest and digest activated. You can tell your body in a sensory way that it is safe. Like you can wrap yourself in a warm blanket, you can hold a warm mug, you can put on calming music, light a candle, sit in the sunlight. These are all clues and cues that ground our system back into the present. Your nervous system also wants rhythm and flow. Slow walking, swaying side to side, rocking in a chair. The rhythm is actually telling our brain that we're not in danger. Get your feet on the ground. Grounding ourselves electrically is magnificently powerful. Actually, I think it was episode 2 that Kurt and I spoke a little bit about grounding. Go back to that if you want to dive deeper. There's so much information right now about the vagus nerve, and that could be its own episode. But some very simple things that stimulate the vagus nerve are things like humming your favorite song, singing in the car, gargling water. It might sound weird, but it really, really works. A few other things about our nervous system and shutting that fight or flight off, especially as we get ready for bed. So many people have trouble sleeping, but make sure that you truly are dimming the lights or not having flashing lights of either a video game or the television. Make sure that you, instead of scrolling, are stretching and breathing before bed. This is signaling to our body that the day is over, we are safe, and it really helps to prepare our body for restful, restorative sleep. When you label your emotions, your brain actually moves from survival mode into like present awareness. And that is like one of the best things for the nervous system. If you said, I just feel really overwhelmed, or you might explain to your kids, oh my gosh, it's just like I have so much going on or I have so much to do. That simple statement can shift our internal stress response. So, as we close this solo episode of Conversations with a Chiropractor, I want you to remember these very basic things. Chiropractic is not about cracking our back, it is not about chasing pain. It is truly about restoring communication between the brain and the body, which is the central nervous system. Remember all of the simple things that you can do to help to support your autonomic nervous system or your automatic nervous system. And simple things like getting adjusted, gentle movement, rhythmic movement, making sure that you have some great sleep routines. And remember, there is no goal of perfection. This isn't pressure. We want to make sure that we are supporting our nervous system. It is doing its very best to protect us. It is doing everything that it can to keep us moving and running. If today resonated with you, I would really greatly appreciate you sharing it with someone who maybe has been feeling overwhelmed in their body, who has maybe been craving a nervous system reset. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast, would you please rate it, review it, like, or subscribe? You can find me on social media at wautierwellness.com, Dr. Stephanie Wautier on Instagram, or Wautier Wellness Chiropractic and Massage on Facebook. And I'm so curious where your next conversation will take you.